training in a random order resulted in more frontal lobe activation and better skill performance later. Let's find out why. Dr. Tomahawk Cole here. I'm here this week to talk about how practicing the same amount in a different way can be more effective for learning. Let's have at it. The main article I'm using for this video is a literature review, which means they looked at a bunch of different studies and put information together for them. The title is Repetition and Variation in Motor Practice, a review of neural correlates, and it was published in 2015. Their goal was to put together the information out there about what is physically happening in the brain with different training organization types. So let's start with defining those training types. First up is constant practice. Constant practice is just practicing one task over and over and over again. This Kovacs playlist would be constant practice. Blocked practice is combining blocks of the same task together. Playlists in Kovacs run like that by default. You do all of one task and then switch and do all of the next and repeat until you're finished. Serial practice is doing one of each task, one after the other in repeating order. That would look like this playlist. And random practice is just what it sounds like. The same tasks jumbled together in random order. That's what the totally random function in Kovacs is for. Now that you know the differences between the training organization types, let's talk about them. This literature review looks at the difference between block training or constant training versus random training.
And one of the best fighters in the world.
Compared to blocked or constant practice, random practice during acquisition of a skill generally leads to worse performance while learning the skill, but better performance when repeating the skill again later. It seems to lead to better learning in the same amount of time. So right out of the gate, we have a lot of evidence that shows that random practice is the way to go. But there's a caveat. In studies of complex tasks like shooting a basketball, random practice during the acquisition phase resulted in poorer performance during and later on. One theory as to why that's the case is that the cognitive demands to complete that task are so high that the brain becomes unable to learn it at all. Think about learning to fly an airplane with random training. You can't gain enough from the task before it's time to switch to a different task, so learning is halted. A study of random practice in children learning versus adults learning fits with that theory. The children learn to rollerblade better with blocked practice, while the more capable adults learned better with random practice. The cognitive load, how hard the task is, dictates whether a task is complex or simple for the person performing it. I mentioned all of that just to say if you're performing a task that is overwhelming you, get a better understanding for it before you try to random practice it. So we know that random practice is better for learning tasks that are not overwhelmingly difficult. But the really interesting thing about it is the theory that this literature review presents as the reason why. There's a lot of science stuff in this article, so I'm going to condense it into just what we can use. Random practice activates your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the DLPFC, more than blocked practice. And blocked practice activates your primary motor cortex more than random practice. It's actually way more complex than what I just said, but those two pieces of information are the most important for us. The DLPFC is responsible for executive action in the brain, as well as higher thinking, while the primary motor cortex is responsible for muscle action. So random practice activating the DLPFC more means that we are actually thinking about our goal more and planning our actions more. We are training smarter.
Rogers! I said fall in!
Blocked practice activating the primary motor cortex means that the action is the focus, not the goal. We are not thinking about our goal or reinforcing it. We are grinding, just moving through the motions. The literature review authors put it really well in their discussion. It is possible that a higher level of variation produces a stronger relationship between processes involving a goal component and an action component in movement. In contrast, a more repetitive schedule of practice requires more of an action component in movement, creating a weaker relationship between these processes. Random training is smarter and more effective training. Let's look at how we can put this knowledge to use in aim training.
So a nice run for Impress Sertsuk in her Olympic debut.
In Kovacs, the playlist function is almost perfect for random training. All you have to do is set the randomization to totally random and you're ready to go. I've grouped scenarios together into playlists based around a concept I'm trying to work on. This target reading playlist is based off the first month of target reading practice and instruction by world record aiming coach Delight. I've been using it in random practice for 17 days and I've been making solid improvements the entire time. I made another playlist for practicing smoothness with really high sensitivity, and I have plans for a bunch more. Now, I haven't made a completely random playlist going over really disparate skills, but in theory that should work just fine too. I'll definitely be trying it in the future. What are you guys going to switch now that you have the power of random training? Leave it in the comments. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. It'll motivate me to keep making these videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Minigames targets go through a deceleration.
Good wrist posture isn't going the exact same.